Welcome back to Early Riser Workshop. Today's project is a bit artistic and is using scrap wood to make this work of art. We're going to start this project next on Early Riser Workshop. Now that I've gone from random sticks to rough dimensions for the design on the backing plate, I'm going to take each stick now and sand 3 sides, letting one tail run long. Okay, now that all the pieces are sanded, it's time to glue each one in place. I'm going to start with this piece, because it's the cornerstone, and once I have this one set, everything lines up to it. Well, we have our project dry from overnight, and I know that the pieces are going to stay put as we trim the edges off. Now, normally I'd take this to the table saw and do that, but I had a viewer request to demonstrate how can they do this type of cutting using a circular saw. Well, one method would be to take a straight edge and setting the straight edge up, clamping it down so that the dimension between the cut line and the edge of the straight edge is exactly the measurement from the inside of the blade to the outside of the shoe. Well, that's possible, and you might have success with that, but an easier and more accurate way would be to make a little jig out of 2 pieces of hardboard glued together like this one, where I can run the saw across this line and cut the jig so that the dimension between the straight edge and the cut line is exactly the dimension on the saw. So first we're going to cut that on the jig with the circular saw, and then we'll come back to our project. Taking the edge of the guide here and lining it up with the edge of the cut line, I'll clamp it down and cut it through. And there we go. The edges are trimmed and we're ready to move on to the frame. Well, once again, reaching into the scrap bin, I picked up some pieces of 1/4-inch hardboard, a piece of pine trim, and some of the same pieces that I used for the mountains. And I'm going to make the frame. So one thing I have to pay attention to is that the pieces on this part are thicker than the part here and thicker than this. So I need a way to make that frame level. What I thought I'd do is set some 1/4-inch scrap pieces down on a solid surface, and then cutting the trim with a 45 miter, I'll wrap the frame and glue the frame together around. And then after that's done, I'll miter and take these trim pieces and glue that over top, and that'll create a nice shadow line. Okay, I've removed the tape from the project and from the frame, and just by placing one over the other, you can see how the project will turn out. Well, the next step is to actually apply the finish before we glue the frame on. Now you can see the finished picture made with scrap wood and completely painted, ready for the frame. And the frame is also painted. The back side's not painted and the edge is not painted. So the only thing left to do now is to add a little bit of glue, center the frame, making sure that it's even all the way around, and let it dry. Well, here it is, our finished project, ready to be hung with pride, and it was a lot of fun to make. I hope you learned something and you're inspired to try it yourself. This is Early Riser. Thank you for watching Early Riser Workshop.